Ever since my little brother died of a high fever while my mother was busy keeping her precious college junior company, I started cutting her out of all our family photos. When my teacher called my dad, deeply concerned after hearing me say my mom was dead and that I wanted my desk mate's mom instead, my dad just paused. Then he agreed with me. Yeah, she passed away a long time ago. At the school's family sports day, my dad saw me hand the janitor a $10 bill, asking her to be my mom for the afternoon. He did not stop me. Instead, he quietly slipped the woman another $200 to attend my parent-teacher conference. Whenever I needed a mother to show up, my dad would just let me buy one. It took my mother a long time to realize she hadn't heard from us. She finally canceled her endless meetings to pick me up from school, only for my teacher to frown and shut the classroom door in her face. Confused and irritated, she went straight home. The moment she opened the front door, she heard me talking to our building superintendent. My mom is dead. Do you want to be my new mom? Our living room wall was covered in framed photos of my award ceremonies. The woman standing next to me and my dad in every single picture was a complete stranger. Kyle, who the hell are these women standing next to you? Phoebe's voice was absolute ice. Her glare could have burned a hole straight through the glass frames. I didn't understand why she was so angry. I panicked, waving my little hands, trying to explain. The building superintendent wiped the sweat off her forehead. Sweetie, why would you say such things? Your mother is clearly still alive. She let out an awkward laugh and practically ran out of the apartment. Hearing that, Phoebe's mouth twitched with sheer rage. She didn't even notice the expensive bakery cake she had brought slipping from her hands and smashing onto the hardwood floor. I haven't been home in 2 months and you two are telling people I am dead? Kyle, is this how you raise our child? Terrified, I rushed forward to shield my dad. Nobody taught me, don't blame daddy. I said it myself. Phoebe's face turned completely dark. She began yanking the picture frames off the wall, raising her arm to smash them, then she paused. Her eyes caught the engraved golden plaques on the frames. First place. Regional champion. Her hands froze in midair. She looked down at me, her expression unreadable. I held my breath, waiting for her to explode. Phoebe had no idea that ever since she'd been living in that other man's house 2 months ago, my dad had been secretly paying women to act as my mother for every single family event. Hearing the commotion, my dad walked out of the master bedroom. In just 2 months, he looked like a walking skeleton, his eyes hollow, his steps unsteady. Seeing Phoebe, he didn't scream. He didn't cry and demand a divorce. He didn't grab a kitchen knife and threaten her to choose between her family and her precious junior. He just stared at her with a gaze so cold it felt like looking at a corpse. Phoebe's rage instantly evaporated. Her beautiful eyes darted away, flashing with a brief moment of guilt. Remembering something, she nervously reached into her designer bag and pulled out a brand new camera, offering it to him with a gentle smile. Kyle, look, this is the new model you've wanted for so long. And I know you want to get back into photography. I already submitted your portfolio to the International Lens Competition. My dad stared at it with zero emotion. There was not a single trace of joy on his face. I recognized it immediately, it was the camera my dad had kept saved in his online cart for 2 years. To pay the household bills, he had refused to buy it. When he finally swallowed his pride and asked Phoebe for it, she blew him off again and again. What Phoebe didn't know was that the model she just bought was already outdated. My dad had already purchased the newest one himself. Watching his reaction, Phoebe's eyebrows knit together. She let out a long sigh, pressing the camera into his hands with a patronizing, indulgent tone. All right, honey. It is my fault. I know you've been heartbroken since Noah passed away, and I shouldn't have argued with you. Just be patient, okay? Things with Oliver are almost settled. Just give me a little more time. A little more time. I clenched my tiny fists, looking at my mom with a breaking heart. 2 months. My mom was a liar. She had said that exact phrase 52 times and she never kept her word. My dad waited for her. He waited while my little brother coded in the emergency room. He waited while his clinical depression spiraled so badly he started self-harming. He waited until he was completely broken, and she still never came home. Instead, she would just scold him over the phone. Kyle, I told you, she is my late mentor's child. Oliver is my junior. Stop being so incredibly insecure. Right then, Phoebe's ringtone pierced the quiet room. She quickly answered it on speakerphone. A little girl's desperate sobbing echoed through our apartment. Auntie Phoebe, come back, Daddy's head is burning up and he collapsed on the floor. He won't wake up. Then a man's weak, scolding voice came through the line. Sophie, why did you call her? We cannot keep burdening her. I scowled, opening my mouth to scream, that is not your mom, she is my mom, but Phoebe's eyes instantly went red. Her voice trembled with sheer panic. Oliver, what are you talking about? I would beg you to burden me for the rest of my life. She frantically threw the expensive camera onto the sofa. Kyle, Oliver might have overworked himself. I need to go check on him. I will explain everything later. Phoebe ran out the door without looking back. My dad and I stood there staring at the empty doorway. We both knew she was not coming back tonight. My dad picked up the camera she left behind and turned it on. The memory card was full of photos: Phoebe, Oliver, and Sophie smiling at theme parks, eating at expensive restaurants. I saw a photo of Phoebe and Sophie laughing on a Ferris wheel. The timestamp was the exact same day my little brother died in the hospital. I saw a photo of them watching a beautiful fireworks display. That was the night my dad had a depressive episode and ended up bleeding in the bathtub. My chest hurt so badly I couldn't breathe. I burst into tears. Mom always had time. She just never gave any of it to us. My dad's entire body shook. He pulled me into his arms, his voice hoarse but terrifyingly resolute. "Jessica, Mommy is dead, right?" I nodded my head vigorously. Something permanently shifted behind my dad's eyes. He stood up, grabbed the camera, and hurled it violently against the wall. Crash. The expensive device shattered into 100 plastic and glass pieces. I knew his heart had just shattered exactly the same way. That night, right before I fell asleep, I heard my dad talking on the phone in the dark. "The lead photographer position in Los Angeles, I accept. I will be there in exactly 7 days." Through my sleepy haze, I suddenly remembered something. My dad used to be a globally renowned photographer. Every time he released a print, billionaires and celebrities would get into bidding wars over it. But he gave up his entire reputation for Phoebe, hiding in New York, working a miserable, underpaid job where his boss treated him like garbage. I couldn't help but smile into my pillow. In 7 days, my shining, brilliant dad was coming back. 5 days until we leave. I walked into the apartment after school and heard a massive clatter. Phoebe, who hadn't been home in 2 days, was holding all the trophies and medals my dad and I had won, tossing them into a cardboard moving box. The princess dresses my dad saved up to buy me and my limited edition dolls were all being stuffed into the box without a second thought. My brain short-circuited. I looked nervously at my dad. His face was frozen in absolute disgust. His fists were shaking at his sides. "Phoebe, are you even human? You don't come home to see your own daughter for 2 days, and the first thing you do is steal her things to give to that parasite and his kid?" Phoebe didn't even look guilty. She casually inspected one of my gold medals, a dismissive smile on her lips. "Kyle, I don't want to do this either. But if you hadn't posted those passive-aggressive photos on Facebook, Oliver and Sophie wouldn't be so depressed right now. Besides, Jessica is incredibly spoiled. What is the big deal about giving some toys to a child who doesn't even have a mother?" My dad let out a dark, breathless laugh. His eyes instantly turned red with overwhelming disappointment. "I never showed off. Only a filthy mind sees filth in everything. Jessica and I worked hard for those trophies while you were busy playing house with another man and his daughter. Did you ever stop to think about your own child?" I stood there completely numb, unable to understand why my mom had turned into this monster. A year ago, when my dad and I wanted a specific type of traditional pastry, Phoebe drove 300 miles just to learn how to bake it for us. Now she was ripping our achievements off the walls to give to strangers. My dad took a deep breath. He seemed to see right through her. He pulled out his phone and sent a voice memo to a local journalist who had been begging for an interview. "Mr. Davis, I accept your offer for the Champion Father and Daughter feature interview. Tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m., 2 Silver Lake Drive." "Kyle, what the hell are you doing?" Phoebe lunged forward and snatched the phone out of his hand. My dad tilted his head, looking down at her like she was a pathetic bug. "If they want the champion trophies, they better be ready to play the part. As long as Oliver and his kid can handle a live press interview about winning these awards, they can keep them." Phoebe ground her teeth together, letting out a furious laugh. "Do you really have to make things this ugly, Kyle? What happened to you? You used to be so generous, so understanding." She suppressed her temper, shooting a dark glare at the movers she had hired, ordering them to take the last box away before walking out the door. She gave my dad a look of sheer, unadulterated disappointment. "I am just borrowing them to cheer Sophie up. I will bring them back when we are done. Call the journalist and cancel it right now." Used to be. I stared at my sneakers, my chest aching. My mom used to be different too. "You are not taking a single thing out of this house," my dad started. "Daddy," I yelled, cutting him off. I turned to Phoebe and gave her a sweet, obedient smile, shaking my head. "It is okay, Daddy. I don't want them anymore. Let Mommy give them to my new sister." A flash of joy crossed Phoebe's eyes. She walked over and patted my head, completely oblivious. "See, our Jessica is such a good, mature girl." After she left, I looked at the empty, stripped living room. I walked over to my piggy bank, pulled out a $10 bill, and took my dad's hand. His eyes were completely bloodshot. We walked downstairs to the college student living on the second floor. "Excuse me, miss, can I give you $10 to be my mom for tonight? It is my daddy's birthday." The girl looked at us, her voice thick with pity. She's dead," my dad and I said at the exact same time. The girl seemed to understand immediately. She followed us back to our apartment. While I was singing happy birthday, right before my dad blew out the candles, his phone lit up with a notification. My dad stiffened. His fingers trembled as he opened it. I peeked at the screen and the blood in my veins turned to absolute ice. Oliver had updated his social media. The caption read, "Whenever I get angry and break things, she never gets annoyed. She just smiles and hands me more to throw." The attached photo showed my dad's and my trophies shattered into 100 pieces on their marble floor. My limited edition dolls, the ones I loved so much I barely even took them out of the box, had their faces violently scribbled over with black permanent marker. Ping. Phoebe sent a message. It was a money transfer for $50,000. My dad tapped the voice memo underneath it. Through the speaker, we could hear the chaotic sound of glass shattering in the background. "Kyle, there was a little accident with the trophies. Just take the money and buy Jessica some new ones. Stop making a big deal out of nothing." Tears welled up in my eyes, blurring my vision. "But Mom, money can't buy the love Daddy and I put into winning those." My dad squeezed his eyes shut. He immediately took a screenshot of the post and forwarded it to his lawyer. "Mr. Davis, these are photos proving Phoebe's long-term infidelity with Oliver, along with the massive financial transfers she has been making to him. All the evidence is there. Fast-track the divorce proceedings." My dad didn't reply to Phoebe for the rest of the night. Her phone calls came in back-to-back, ringing endlessly. "Kyle, I am sorry I forgot your birthday, okay? Kyle, why aren't you accepting the transfer? Why are you throwing another tantrum? Are you out of your mind? The journalist actually showed up at Oliver's house this morning. Do you have any idea how humiliated they were? Are you happy now?" My dad read the frantic texts lighting up his screen. For the first time in 2 years, he didn't shed a single tear. He just calmly hit the block button. "Mom, you will never receive another message from Daddy again. 3 days until we leave. 3 days until we leave." The apartment felt strange after Phoebe emptied half of it. The living room wall had pale squares where our photo frames used to hang. The shelf where my dolls had stood was naked except for dust lines. The corner where my trophies used to shine looked like someone had cut a piece out of the room and carried it away. But somehow, it felt lighter. Not happy. Not yet. Just lighter. Like the apartment had been holding its breath for 2 months and had finally stopped pretending Phoebe would walk back through the door with love in her hands. My dad packed quietly. He did not throw things. He did not cry. He folded my school uniforms into one box, wrapped my sketchbooks in old newspapers, and labeled everything with my name in neat black marker. Jessica, clothes. Jessica, awards. Jessica, drawings. Then he took out a small blue box from the closet. Noah. He sat on the floor with it in his lap for a long time. I crawled beside him and leaned against his arm. Inside were Noah's tiny socks, his favorite yellow rattle, hospital papers, and one little knitted hat that still smelled faintly like baby powder. Dad touched the hat with 2 fingers. His face did not move, but his breathing changed. "Daddy." He closed the box gently. "I'm here." I looked toward the door. What if Mommy comes back before we leave? Dad's hand rested on my hair. "Phoebe can come to the apartment." My chest tightened. "But she cannot come back into our family." The words were soft. They still felt like a door locking. Part of me wanted to ask why. Part of me already knew. A mother was supposed to come before the child had to beg. Before the fever got too high. Before the hospital called again. Before a little girl learned that $10 could buy a fake mom for one afternoon, but not a real one for dinner. I nodded. "Then we should pack Noah's box first." Dad's fingers trembled once. Then he pulled me close. "Yes. We take your brother first." The next day, Phoebe was still at Oliver's apartment. I knew because she tried calling Dad from 3 different numbers, and each time his phone stayed silent in the drawer. Blocked. She called my school too. My teacher told Dad later. Phoebe had sounded angry first. Not scared. Not sorry. Angry. She demanded to know why she was no longer listed as Jessica's first emergency contact, my teacher whispered when Dad picked me up. Her eyes were red. I told her all changes were made by the custodial parent on file. Dad simply thanked her. No explanation. No pleading. No, Phoebe didn't mean it. On the walk home, I held his hand tightly. "Am I allowed to have no emergency, Mother?" Dad stopped. The streetlight turned green, then red again. He knelt in front of me right there on the sidewalk. "You have an emergency, Father. You have me. What if you're busy?" "I will stop being busy." What if someone else needs you? You first. My eyes stung. Even if Sophie cries? His jaw tightened. Especially then. That night, Mr. Davis published the first teaser. The champion father and daughter who were erased at home. Dad's phone began buzzing before dinner. Then my teacher called. Then Dad's old photography friends. Then people I didn't know. The article had a photo of me at sports day, standing between Dad and the janitor I had paid $10. Her smile looked kind but nervous. Dad stood beside me with one hand on my shoulder, eyes hollow, trying to look normal. Another photo showed the parent-teacher conference, with a college student pretending to be my mom because I said I needed one. Another showed the empty chair beside Dad at an award ceremony. Then the broken trophies from Oliver's post. Then my dolls, their faces scribbled black. Under one photo was Dad's quote. My wife always had time. She just never spent it on the children who were actually hers. That line went everywhere. People shared it. Commented on it. Repeated it like a sentence they had been waiting for someone else to say. I read it over and over until the words blurred. Mom always had time. She just never spent it on us. By evening, Phoebe had seen it. She came home furious. The door slammed open so hard the boxes near the entrance shook. Kyle. Dad was taping Noah's box. He did not look up. Phoebe stood in the doorway, hair messy, eyes red, wearing the same coat she had left in 2 days ago. She looked around the half-empty apartment. At the bare wall. At the sealed boxes. At the empty shelf. At the divorce papers waiting on the coffee table. Her mouth opened. Closed. Then opened again with anger. What is this? Dad pressed the tape flat. Moving. She laughed once. Sharp and ugly. You are not serious. I stood in the hallway holding my backpack. Her eyes found me. Instantly, her face changed. Soft. Motherly. Too late. Jessica, baby. I took one step behind Dad. She flinched. Sweetheart, Mommy is here. The word mommy sounded strange now. Like a dress that no longer fit. I looked at her. Which mommy? The one I paid $10 for or the one who ran to Oliver? Her face crumpled for half a second. Then she turned on Dad. You taught her this. Dad stood. No. You taught her by not coming home. Phoebe's voice shook. I was helping Oliver. He had nobody. Dad's eyes went cold. Noah had a mother. He just didn't have you. The room went dead quiet. Phoebe's mouth trembled. You don't get to use Noah against me. Dad walked to the trash can, pulled out the crumpled old note I had written about our birth plan and the little papers he had gathered, then placed them on the table. You use him every time you pretend you were grieving too hard to come home. I was grieving. No. His voice stayed calm. That was worse than shouting. You did not run from grief. You ran from responsibility. Phoebe shook her head hard. You have no idea what losing him did to me. Dad unlocked his phone and opened the screenshot from the camera memory card. Phoebe. Oliver. Sophie. Ferris wheel. Big smiles. Bright lights. The timestamp. The day Noah died. Dad turned the screen toward her. You smiled on a Ferris wheel while our son died in the hospital. Phoebe stared. All the color left her face. I didn't know the date. My voice came out small. But you knew you weren't there. Her eyes snapped to me. I thought she would scream. Instead, she looked like I had pushed her into cold water. I was going to come back. I shook my head. You always say that. Dad picked up the divorce papers. I filed. Phoebe's anger came back, desperate now. You can't divorce me because I helped someone. I can divorce you because our family died while you were helping someone else live ours. She slapped the papers off the table. You're being cruel. Dad looked at the scattered pages. I loved you long after you stopped coming home. That was my mistake. Jessica will not pay for it anymore. Phoebe stepped toward him. Kyle, please. Just listen. No. It was only one word. But it stopped her. For the first time, I saw my mother realize Dad was not waiting. Not anymore. Oliver posted his statement the next morning. Phoebe was only helping my daughter and me. I never asked her to neglect her family. I am deeply sorry for the misunderstanding and hope everyone gives the children peace. He added a black and white photo of himself holding Sophie's hand. The comments were kind at first. Poor single father. He didn't know. Phoebe chose this herself. Then Dad's lawyer released the messages. Oliver, Sophie is crying again. She keeps asking why Auntie Phoebe leaves us. Oliver, I hate asking, but rent is due. I'll pay you back after my project. Oliver, Sophie saw Jessica's doll online. She asked if she could have one too. I said no, but she cried herself to sleep. Oliver, don't tell Kyle. He already dislikes me. I don't want to cause trouble. Oliver, if you leave now, Sophie will think everyone abandons her. Then the transfer records. Money for rent. Money for school. Money for therapy. Money for clothes. Money for vacations. Money for the theme park day. The day Noah died. The kind comments stopped. Oliver's second statement came 3 hours later. Phoebe made her own choices. I was emotionally vulnerable and never intended to become involved in her marriage. Dad read it once and put the phone down. She chose a coward. I did not say anything. I was thinking about Sophie. Sophie was a child. So was I. But my dolls had black marker on their faces, and her birthday candles had been paid for with the time my mother stole from Noah. 2 days until we leave, Sophie came to school with a cardboard box. She stood outside my classroom, smaller than I remembered from the photos. Her hair was tied with a ribbon that looked like mine. My old ribbon. She hugged the box against her chest. Jessica. My teacher looked at me, unsure. I walked outside. Sophie's eyes were red. Inside the box were pieces. Broken metals. One ribbon. A doll with half its face scribbled out. Photos of the trophies before Oliver broke them. She pushed the box toward me. I'm sorry. I stared at the ruined doll. Did you break them? She shook her head quickly. Daddy did. He was angry because people were saying bad things online. Auntie Phoebe told him she would buy new ones. I thought. She swallowed. I thought she gave them because she loved me. The hallway felt too bright. She did love you. Sophie started crying. But she was your mom. I did not comfort her. I could not. But I also did not hate her the way I hated the adults. You can keep the things bought for you. Her head lifted. But not the things Dad and I earned. She nodded hard. I know. Do you? I asked Dad why Auntie Phoebe was always at our house if she had you and Noah. Her mouth twisted. He told me not to ask adult questions. That sounded like Oliver. I took the box. Then ask anyway. Sophie wiped her face. I'm sorry about your brother. My throat closed. Most adults avoided saying Noah's name. Sophie had said it. I nodded. She walked away without asking me to forgive her. That made it easier not to hate her. The last day in New York was gray. Phoebe did not come to the apartment again. Maybe she thought we were bluffing. Maybe she thought Dad would call. Maybe she still believed families waited forever as long as mothers arrived before the final scene. She arrived at the airport too late. Dad and I were already walking toward security. Noah's blue box was in Dad's carry-on. My backpack held the surviving ribbon and one photo of our old family with Phoebe cut out. Jessica. I turned. Phoebe was running across the terminal, coat open, hair loose, face white with panic. Kyle, stop. Security stepped between us before she reached Dad. She looked shocked, like the world itself had insulted her. Kyle, you can't take my daughter. Dad did not answer. I did. You left first. Phoebe stopped struggling. Her eyes filled. Jessica, please. Dad held out his hand. I took it. We walked through security. I did not look back again. Los Angeles smelled different. Warmer. Brighter. Like the city had never heard Phoebe's ringtone. Dad's new apartment was smaller, but the windows were huge. In the morning, light spilled across the floor in gold stripes. He started his lead photographer position 2 days after we arrived. I expected him to disappear into work. He did not. He took me to school on my first day. He came to the parent meeting. He packed my lunch badly but with effort. He showed up for sports tryouts, even though I was terrible and mostly ran in the wrong direction. When I had nightmares about Noah, Dad sat on the floor beside my bed until I fell asleep. Once, my teacher sent home a form asking for mother's name. I stared at the blank line for a long time. Then I wrote, not available. For emergency contact, I wrote Kyle. Under relationship, I wrote, shows up. Dad saw it when he signed the form. He had to turn away for a minute. At the gallery where Dad worked, there was a curator named Mara. She had silver hair, red glasses, and a voice that made rich people behave. She brought me hot chocolate one afternoon while Dad was editing photos. I heard you're the famous Jessica. I'm not famous. Your $10 mom story made 3 board members cry. I looked down. Sorry. Don't be. Rich people need cardio for the soul. I almost smiled. Mara slid the cup toward me. You don't have to pay people to care about you, you know. My fingers tightened around the warm cup. I know. I did not know fully yet. But I was learning. Dad's comeback happened quietly at first. 1 photo sold. Then 5. Then a collector came. Then a celebrity posted one of his old prints and wrote, Kyle Harrington is back. I had forgotten Dad had a last name that sounded famous to other people. To me, he was just Daddy. But in the gallery, people whispered. They remembered him. The man who could make empty rooms feel haunted. The man who could photograph a child's hand and make strangers cry. Dad began working late, but he always came home for dinner. Even if dinner was just noodles and burned eggs. Even if a celebrity was waiting. Even if Mara threatened to lock him in the studio until he chose a frame. He came home. Every time. Back in New York, Phoebe's life got smaller. I knew because adults always thought children did not hear when phones were on speaker. The court gave Dad full temporary custody first, then permanent custody. Phoebe's visitation was supervised and dependent on my agreement. I did not agree. The money transfers to Oliver became part of the divorce fight. Oliver was ordered to return what could be traced as marital funds or face civil claims. His university project sponsor withdrew support after the article. A job offer disappeared. Parents online started calling him the man who borrowed another child's mother. Phoebe's colleagues stopped praising her kindness. Her friends stopped inviting her to charity lunches. Her social media went quiet. Oliver stopped answering her too. Then one day, he called. I was sitting beside Dad while he reviewed documents with his lawyer. Phoebe had forwarded a recording in some desperate attempt to prove Oliver was also guilty. His voice came through thin and annoyed. Phoebe, I can't be connected to this anymore. Sophie is being bullied because of you. Phoebe's voice shook. Because of me? You were the married one. You called me every time you needed something. I never forced you. You told Sophie I was family. You wanted to be needed. Silence. Then Phoebe, smaller than I had ever heard her. What about us? There was never us. Not like that. Dad stopped the recording. He did not look happy. He looked tired. That is what she chose over home? I leaned against him. No. She chose being important. Dad's hand covered mine. A week later, Phoebe went to see Sophie. Sophie's grandmother answered the door. Phoebe cried outside for almost 20 minutes before Sophie came down. I only knew because Phoebe sent Dad a message from another number. A video. Maybe she wanted pity. Maybe proof she was suffering. Sophie stood on the building steps, small and pale. Phoebe reached for her. Sophie, Auntie missed you. Sophie did not move closer. Auntie Phoebe, if you were really Jessica's mom, why were you always at our house? Phoebe's face folded. No adult accusation had done that. No article. No lawyer. No blocked call. A child asking the simplest question broke her. Sophie stepped back. I don't want Jessica's things anymore. The grandmother led her inside. Phoebe stayed on the steps until dark. The invitation to Dad's biggest exhibition went out 2 months later. It was not personal. It was public. Everyone received the same thick white card. The mothers I bought for $10. Kyle Harrington. Opening night, Los Angeles. Phoebe came. Of course she did. The gallery was full before sunset. Cameras waited near the entrance. Collectors, journalists, old friends, new strangers. People spoke softly, like the walls were a church. I stood beside Dad in a navy dress. No hired mother beside me. No empty chair either. Just Dad. The first photo was the janitor at sports day, holding my hand with a nervous smile. Thank you. The caption was simple. $10. One afternoon. More presents than a mother gave in 2 months. The second photo showed the college student at Dad's birthday, helping me light candles. The third showed a parent-teacher conference, with a stranger sitting where Phoebe should have been. The fourth was an empty hospital hallway. Noah's hallway. I could barely look at it. Dad's hand tightened around mine. The fifth showed broken trophies. The sixth showed my dolls with black marker faces. The seventh showed a birthday cake with one candle already melted down while Dad stared at a phone that would not stop ringing. Then came the Ferris wheel photo. Phoebe, Oliver, Sophie. Smiling. Time-stamped. The day Noah died. The gallery whispers changed when Phoebe entered. People recognized her. That's her. The mother? She was with another man while her son died. Her daughter paid strangers? The crowd parted around her, not out of respect. Out of disgust. Phoebe walked through the photos like each one struck her. By the time she reached the final wall, she was crying. The last portrait was new. Me and Dad in Los Angeles. Sunlight behind us. No mother. No replacement. No empty hands. Just us. Phoebe stopped in front of it. Dad stood beside the frame. She looked at him like she had been walking for years and finally found the house burned down. Kyle. Dad turned. She tried to smile, but it fell apart. Please. I made mistakes, but I loved you. Dad's face was calm. You loved being needed. Oliver needed you loudly. Jessica and Noah needed you quietly. You chose the noise. Phoebe pressed one hand to her mouth. I was wrong. I know that now. I'll cut him off. I'll do whatever you want. I'll move here. I'll go to therapy. I'll be present. Just let me try. Dad looked at the final portrait. No. Kyle. I spent years waiting for you to come home. Then I realized I was teaching Jessica to wait too. I will never do that to her again. Her knees almost gave out. Do you hate me? Dad's eyes were dry. No. Hate would mean you still live inside me. You don't. That was when Phoebe truly broke. She turned to me. The entire gallery seemed to hold its breath. Jessica. I stepped closer to Dad. Phoebe knelt right there on the polished floor, in front of strangers, cameras, and all the mothers I had bought. Baby, I'm your mother. Her voice cracked on the last word. My heart hurt. It still hurt. That was the worst part. A dead mother could still leave bruises. I looked at her face and tried to find the woman who used to drive 300 miles to learn a pastry recipe because Dad and I liked it. I tried to find the woman who sang Noah to sleep. I tried to find Mommy. All I saw was someone who came after the photos were already framed. No. Phoebe's lips trembled. My mother died when Noah needed her. You're just the woman who came late to the funeral. A sound moved through the gallery. Not a gasp. Something heavier. Phoebe reached for me. Dad stepped between us. He did not touch her. He only stood there. For the first time, he shielded me without shaking. Phoebe sobbed. I'm sorry. I didn't know how much I lost. I held Dad's coat. You knew every time you didn't come home. You just thought we would still be there when you were done. Her hand fell. There was nothing left to say after that. Not for me. Oliver tried one last statement 2 days later. He said he had been manipulated by Phoebe's guilt. Dad's team released the full records. His messages. His requests. His posts. His smashed trophies. His transfers. His quiet little phrases that always pulled Phoebe back. The public stopped calling him helpless. His remaining support disappeared. His project was cancelled. The legal demand for repayment moved forward. Sophie was kept out of the spotlight by her grandmother, which was the only decent choice any adult around her had made. Oliver called Phoebe after that. She did not answer. It did not make her redeemed. It only proved she had finally run out of places to hide. After the exhibition closed, Phoebe returned to her hotel room alone. I imagined it because Mr. Davis later wrote about seeing her leave. No Kyle. No Jessica. No Oliver. No Sophie calling her auntie. No family photos. Only a phone full of old pictures and a son she could not bring back. Maybe that was punishment enough for a mother who had become a ghost while still alive. But it was not forgiveness. The divorce finalized before winter. Dad got full custody. Phoebe got supervised visitation she never used because I never agreed. The judge wrote words like abandonment, emotional neglect, and unstable parental priority. Adults needed official phrases. I already had mine. Mommy died. Life in Los Angeles kept going. The sun kept rising. Dad kept showing up. On my first family sports day there, I stood near the field holding a registration form. The space for Mother was blank. For the first time, I did not feel embarrassed. Dad arrived carrying 2 water bottles, sunscreen, a camera, and a ridiculous hat I begged him not to wear. He wore it anyway. Do you still want me to find someone to stand in? He asked. I looked around at the other families. Mothers. Fathers. Grandparents. Aunts. Then I looked at Dad. He looked healthier now. Still thin, but his eyes had light again. His hands no longer shook when he held the camera. No. You showed up. That's enough. His face changed. Then he smiled. A real one. After the sports day, we drove to the beach. Dad brought Noah's yellow rattle and a small framed photo. We placed them on a blanket between us. The ocean was loud. Not like Phoebe's noise. A different sound. One that did not ask anything from us. Dad helped me fold a paper boat. I wrote Noah's name inside. We let it float in the shallow water until a wave took it. I cried then. Not loudly. Not like a tantrum. Just enough to let my brother know I still missed him. Dad knelt beside me. Your brother was loved. You are loved. And nobody will ever make you pay for love again. I leaned into him. For the first time, I believed him. For years, I paid strangers $10 to pretend to be my mother. In the end, I learned the truth. Family is not the person whose name is written on your birth certificate. It is the person who shows up before you have to pay them.